Hello and welcome to Shades of San Diego. I'm Jessica Chang. This show explores the wide array of people, ideas, and cultures that thrive in our diverse community. When you see a woman wearing a headscarf or notice someone who looks Middle Eastern board your airplane, do you get uncomfortable? Since 9/11, a fear of Muslims and the ideals of Islam have grown. Today we learn about the local Muslim community and explore the beliefs and misconceptions of Islam. Our guests today want to dispel stereotypes and shed light on who they really are and what they really stand for. Our first guest is a San Diego woman who often speaks out in the community to raise awareness about Islam. I'd like to welcome Tassine Lazouni from the Islamic Center of San Diego to the show. Thank you for being here, Tassine.
Thank you, Jessica.
Well, first of all, tell us how Islam originated and what its fundamental beliefs are.
The fundamental belief of Islam is the belief in the oneness of God. Islam is a monotheistic belief, and Muslims actually believe that it's a continuation and culmination of the Judeo-Christian tradition of monotheism. Islam, the way it is now, began with Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Muslims believe he was the final prophet after many prophets whom we believe were sent by God to teach mankind to do two things. First, to worship one God only, and second, to live righteously. And examples of living righteously would be to do good deeds, to help other people, to not lie or cheat or steal or kill, but to be a positive influence in the world.
And in Islam, you use the Quran to read about the teachings.
That's right. This is the Quran, and this is the Muslim holy book. And Muslims believe that this is the word of God, that it's unchanged. It was revealed, according to Islam, over 1400 years ago in the Arabic language. If you were to pick up any copy of the Quran in Arabic, you'd see that it's exactly the same as it was 1400 years ago. There are many translations, of course, in different languages, and those can all differ, but this is the primary source for Muslims on how to be a good Muslim, how to live one's life. It contains information on the nature of God, about the afterlife, how we're supposed to treat each other with kindness and respect and justice. So this is the primary source for Muslims on how to live their lives.
Yes. How big is the Muslim community worldwide?
In the world, there are about 1.2 billion Muslims. And what's surprising is that there's a misconception that most Muslims are from the Middle East or from Arab countries, but actually a very large number of Muslims are from South Asia, which is Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. There's also a very large number of Muslims in Southeast Asia, and Indonesia is the one country in the world that has the largest population of Muslims. So Indonesia has more Muslims than Saudi Arabia, for example. So there are 1.2 billion Muslims worldwide, and here in North America there are about 7 million, and in San Diego itself there are estimates between 80,000 and 100,000 Muslims.
Okay. How is Islam practiced here in San Diego? Where do you go?
Well, I attend many different mosques, but the one I tend to attend the most is the Islamic Center of San Diego, and that's in Claremont. And it's the largest mosque in San Diego. And every Friday for our congregational prayer, there are over 1,000 people who attend, men, women, and children. And the group of people that come to the mosque, they're all from different countries. You can find Arabs, so people from Syria, from Jordan, Lebanon, Algeria, Morocco. You can also see a lot of people who are Pakistani or Indian, also African American Muslims and European American Muslims.
So from all walks of life.
From all walks of life. So the people that attend the Islamic Center of San Diego form a rich tapestry, and you can hear a lot of different languages being spoken.
Right. Now there's also an Islamic school and different activities for children there, and I did a story about a year ago or so on the Girl Scout troops that are part of the Islamic school, and we have a clip of that now.
On my honor,
I will try
Like all Girl Scout troops, the Muslim Girl Scouts begin their meetings with the Girl Scout Promise.
Okay, I have some posters here about the Islamic arts.
But unlike most troops,
when we talk about the Islamic art, we think about the dome.
The leaders point out pieces of their Muslim heritage during regular Girl Scout activities.
I enjoy this troop because, like, we're all one religion. We all, like, do the same things, you know, like our same lifestyles.
So, no, this is a G. This is the bags that you can decorate.
When Lalia Lali moved to the U.S. from Algeria 4 years ago, she worried about her daughter's lack of exposure to Islam.
My country is Islamic country, so the kids, they can hear, for example, the prayer call. They can see a lot of women wearing this, the hijab. But here is different. They ask why the others are not the same as us, you know, or why the others celebrate such holiday and we celebrate another holiday.
So she searched for a program that mixed the best of both worlds and found the Girl Scouts.
Anything that we can do to bridge the cultural divide is just very important. And it's so fundamental to Girl Scouting to learn about other cultures and each other.
The Girl Scouts share many of the values of my religion. I want to teach them how to be helpful, how to care, how to share, how to be friendly, how to be tolerant.
Now here at the mosque in Claremont, when I was shooting this story, we also observed a prayer. And now there are 5 prayers throughout the day at the mosques, correct?
That's right, that's right. The first one is in the early morning at dawn, before sunrise, and then there's a prayer around noontime, and there's another prayer in the afternoon, a prayer right after sunset, and then a prayer at night. And each prayer is just 5 minutes, but the purpose of having these prayers is to remember God and to remember His priority in our lives.
And that is, those 5 prayers are just one of 5 pillars, 5 major beliefs or practices, right?
Right.
In Islam?
Right. The first pillar of Islam is the Shahada, which is the declaration of faith, the belief that there's only one God and that Muhammad is the final messenger of God. The second pillar is the prayer. The third pillar is paying charity, 2.5% of one's annual savings every year we pay in charity, at least, and people give more than that as well. And the fourth pillar is fasting in Ramadan, and this is just for adults and for healthy individuals. And the fast is from dawn until sunset, so Muslims don't eat or drink during those hours. And the purpose of this fast is also to develop God consciousness, to develop self-discipline and self-control. If we can control ourselves in the fast, then we can control ourselves in other aspects of our life as well. And it also helps us to learn how poor people feel who don't have food. And the final pillar is the Hajj, which is once a year.
Right. All right. Thank you so much, Tassine. And
welcome.
we'll talk with you again later on in the show. Coming up on Shades of San Diego, a Muslim college student explains what it's like growing up post 9/11. But first, you'll meet a man who converted from Catholicism to Islam. That's after the break. Welcome back to Shades of San Diego. Our next guest is a Filipino man who converted from Catholicism to Islam 10 years ago and is now the Director of Public Relations for the Council on American Islamic Relations San Diego chapter. I'd like to welcome Edgar Hopita to the show. Thank you for being here, Edgar.
Thank you for having me.
So what made you decide to convert from Catholicism to Islam 10 years ago?
Well, I was in college at the time, and I was learning about my own culture as a Filipino. And I realized that in Filipino history, Islam came to the Philippines back in the 14th century. And as an identity crisis, I said, okay, maybe I should become a Muslim. So I studied the theology, and I found that it was more toward my spiritual inclination rather than the Roman Catholic faith that I was raised up in.
What aspects of it resonated with you more so than in Catholicism?
The oneness of God, because the Roman Catholic faith believed in like the Trinity. Also, worshiping God directly rather than confessing through a priest, and also the aspect of brotherhood and of humanity. When I became a Muslim, I tried out Moroccan food, Arab food. I hung around Arabs and Pakistanis, which normally I wouldn't have because I was predominantly with my culture.
What is the purpose of the Council on American Islamic Relations that you work for?
The Council on American Islamic Relations is the largest American Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization in North America. And we primarily serve the Muslim community through advocacy, grassroots organizing, politics, and also pretty much being their PR for the media and for government.
What are some of the main issues that the council has had to grapple with?
The main issue is probably Islamophobia and the anti-Muslim incidents that occurred across the country since, actually we've been recording it since 1995, and there's been sharp increases since 9/11 of anti-Muslim incidents. And this spurns from a phenomenon called Islamophobia, which is similar to anti-Semitism, where there's an irrational hatred or irrational dislike toward Islam and Muslims.
What sort of, have any incidents taken place here in San Diego?
One of the incidents is the Carver Elementary School, where a group of Muslim students on their break time decided to do their mid-afternoon prayer, and the substitute teacher, not being aware of Islamic practices, thought that the school advocated for religion, and so it made it a big national issue and between religion and separation of church and state. And so that was a big issue.
So the council plays a big role in educating the local community.
Definitely.
On Islam. Now, I found it interesting on your website, there were a couple of statistics that really stood out to me. 46% of Americans believe that Islam is more likely than other religions to encourage violence among its believers. And 26% said they think that mosques should be closely monitored by U.S. law enforcement agencies. Now, these were a couple of different studies, but these must infuriate you. What's your reaction to these kinds of stereotypes and misconceptions?
I'm not surprised because unfortunately in the West we haven't really understood and properly educated ourselves about Islam and Muslims. And so also, if you look at the studies, more likely people that know Muslims and have friends that are Muslims or actually studied Islam are less likely to have these kind of sentiments toward the faith, whereas people that have never met a Muslim in their life or never been to a mosque will have these things due to, unfortunately, negative media attention.
So because you're not surprised, you aren't angered by it?
Of course I'm angered by it, just like I'm angry toward racism and other aspects that are detrimental to our society. But at the same time, we as a community haven't done enough prior to 9/11 to reach out and become more active and participate in society, whereas the other side of the coin, the community at large has not really studied about Islam. So I think this is an excellent opportunity for us to teach people about Islam, and this program is a wonderful example of this.
Well, thank you. And thank you for sharing with us, Edgar, and we'll see you a little later on in the show.
Thank you.
After the break, I talk with a Muslim San Diego State student born in Afghanistan who's dealt with different forms of discrimination, even asked if she was related to Osama bin Laden. Our next guest is a 21-year-old Muslim woman who goes to San Diego State. Since September 11th, when she was 14 years old, she's faced discrimination and stereotypes from her peers. I'd like to welcome Humaira Yusufi to the show now. Thanks so much for being here, Humaira.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Right after the September 11th attacks, what went through your head?
I remember the day of the September 11th attacks. Me and my sister had just gotten to school. We went to Scripture High School then. And we went into our classes and everything was quiet and, you know, the TV was on. And I remember, you know, we saw the planes hitting the Twin Towers. And the first thing I thought was, please don't let it be a Muslim. Just because I was really afraid, because I remember a few years before with the Oklahoma City bombings, you know, the first thing everyone assumed was it was Muslims. And, you know, then of course it wasn't. And this time again, because I guess I understood, you know, the repercussions it would have on my community and myself personally. And, you know, my sister wore a scarf at that time. And so I was scared about what, you know, she would face with, you know, everything that would happen afterwards. So.
What did you guys face afterwards? What sorts of comments or looks did you get from your peers?
Well, myself personally, I didn't actually wear the headscarf at that time. So, you know, some people knew that I was Muslim or that I was Afghan just because they were my friends, or when I would bring it up in class. And, you know, a lot of times, as soon as they heard I was from Afghanistan, they would ask me questions like, you know, are you related to Osama bin Laden? Which I thought was ridiculous because he's Arab, he's not even Afghan. Right. So, and then, you know, some of my friends experienced a lot of issues, people, you know, just staring at them funny or making rude comments, things like that.